started out as a video player, right? To play video games when you were a kid?
Yeah.
Lots of them?
Yeah, a lot of them. It was the thing to do, go to the pizza parlors after the soccer games. I wanted to follow in my dad's footsteps. He sold furniture. So that was, I just looked up to that and I was like, well, I want to sell furniture too. And of course, video games in those days that was something you got in trouble for spending too much time doing.
That's still true.
Stacking up the quarters
Still
and all
true.
that. Yeah.
So you went to college to sell furniture, or just to get a business degree?
I got a business degree, so I went to North Texas, got 2 degrees in accounting. Mm-hmm. So that's not the normal way to get a start in a video game career, but I went to go work for one of the public accounting firms, and id Software was a client of ours.
Really?
Yeah. So we were kind of going in and straightening up the business records for them, and they ended up offering me a job. And how can you turn that down?
They offered you a job. They offered an accountant and a job as a designer?
Well, as a CEO. So I went in.
I'm sorry. Except that's never happened in history.
Well, that's what all my accounting friends said,
I'm
right?
a little shocked.
How did you get this?
What did it feel like creating Doom? When you first came in as CEO, you were essentially racking in money from Wolfenstein, right?
Well, Wolfenstein and Doom were selling well, yeah. So
Doom was already going.
Yeah, Doom was already going. I came in right as Quake released.
I see.
So the development was over. We're still doing some of the launch events and things like that. But when first-person shooter, people were still asking what kind of game it was. And now it's, everybody knows, first-person shooter, it's Halo, it's Call of Duty, it's Doom. Having to explain what a first-person shooter was, that's an experience that you don't have anymore. For us, for id, the essence of the first-person shooter is we wanted to be, as kids, our imagination, we wanted to be heroes. And the world was dark, and I think a lot of people got the perception that all the minds in it are dark, they're kind of the anti-hero, but in all the games, you're always the guy that saved the world. In Doom, it was demons and satanic imagery all the way around, everywhere around you, but you were the hero that you were fighting the demons. In Wolfenstein, you were BJ Blazkowicz, you were fighting the evil Nazis.
Do you do any sort of market testing like they do with movies? When you got a game going, do you bring someone in that's your target audience and watch them play?
Today the market is so big that you have to. You want to be able to get all the feedback that you possibly can to make, because so much goes into the launch and the production of the game. But back in the formative days of the industry, we were really making games for us. Mm-hmm. We made the games that we wanted to play, and then when we released them, we found out that everybody else thought that they were awesome too. Yeah. And so it came to from Wolfenstein to Doom, it was like, well, we want something where we can look around and it feels like you have this world around you that's more immersive than just sort of 90-degree turns. The technology was very limited. It was ray tracing, what you could see, and every turn had to be 90 angles. Well, Doom added this element of verticality, and where you didn't have to have 90-degree angles. And then, the next thing for us was, well, we want to be able to move in 360 degrees of freedom and jump and do all the stuff. And so that's kind of how the games progressed from the early on date is the things that you wished you could do in the game before, we just made possible in the next game. Now you have, video game publishers have slates and slates of testers that they can go through, and they can go through 24-hour testing cycles. In the mid-90s, a lot of the testing actually happened at the developer. So we were, figuring out sourcing our own problems and figuring out the solutions for them. And, so a lot of what I did was getting to know the games from literally not from the code standpoint, but from level 1 to level end. And then that was also what enabled me to be able to talk to the press, talk to the consumers, talk to the publishers and the retailers about what it was that we were doing that was so cool and unique, because I knew everything that was in the game.
Now, being the incubator that id was, and you being the CEO, how did you feel about being if you run that tree, all the other video companies come right out of you?
Yeah.
Was that heartbreaking? Did you feel joy when they had success?
No,
or did you feel?
We loved it. So, and a lot of those people were licensees of ours, because especially when we came out with Quake, it was the first real 3D first-person game, played over the internet, and all these things were very new, and so everybody wanted to license the technology. So as you say, it was kind of like the headwaters of the first-person river really were id and the Quake engine. Really, for us, the seeding of all the different companies in the games was actually something we took on as a labor of love. A lot of those companies we actually worked with on partnering to do work for us. And in my role, I really took pride as trying to explain sort of the economics of the business model to developers, because all the knowledge base was really at the publisher level, and developers they didn't know what they were signing. They didn't understand what was in the contracts. And I was one of those guys that I could read the contract, I could understand what was in it, and tell them, look, it's important for you to understand this aspect of it, because this is going to be where your business succeeds or fails.
And the over the internet stuff, do you remember when that started, when that first idea was floated? Or something you always wanted to do, everybody always wanted?
Well, at the formative days of the internet, I think it would be a stretch to say that we really knew what it would become. But the idea and the kernel of what it is now were there. Clearly it was like you wanted to be able to be in a world where you get in and play with anybody at any time. And you didn't want to just be, constrained to the three people you could play with in your office, over the LAN or whatever. You wanted to go out and play with people in Europe. You wanted to play with people in New York if you were in Texas.
Just tell you, some people in their offices, they work. Not everyone in the office is playing games all the time. I know you have this different view of the world.
But see,
there's guys working.
I do have a different view, because I think that the whole don't play video games at work actually started, there was a bug in Doom that everybody at Intel was playing Doom, but the internet protocol, or the network protocol, would send out a message to all the computers on the network, which crashed Intel's networks. They immediately banned Doom. So you see the headline story on CNN, Doom banned at Intel, and then, oh, well, why was it banned? It must be bad. But it was just because of a network bug.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they crashed their whole network. So they said no more Doom playing at Intel. And then John Cash, who's the lead programmer on World of Warcraft now, got his start in the industry because he emailed the code fix to John. He was working at Novell Networks at the time, saw the bug, emailed it was a few lines of code, emailed it to Carmack. Carmack was like, thanks, you want a job?
So you're not going to tell us where you're going to be going next, what the next thing you're thinking about is?
We'll have to see, because I'm not really sure. I've got I got a toe in a couple of different pools, but we'll see which one is the one that I fall into.